back. You're watching Viewpoint with me, Griha. It was a huge day for Indian democracy as the Rajya Sabha also cleared the landmark Women's Reservation Bill with unanimous support on the 21st of September. And even as Prime Minister Narendra Modi went on to mention the numerous obstacles in the path of the Women's Reservation Bill while lauding its passage, the one big hurdle remains. That is the contentious OBC quota issue. And it is this quota within quota clause that has further united the India bloc that supported the Women's Bill, but with caveats. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi has labelled the bill as a distraction and diversionary tactic by the Bharatiya Janata Party, going on to argue that the bill could very well be implemented before the census and delimitation, but alleged that the government was unwilling to do so. He's also reiterated the demand for an updated census sooner to expedite the implementation of the bill. So this evening on Viewpoint, let's debate if that's a practical go forward.
महिलाओं का जीवन स्तर सुधारने के लिए, क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ बेहतर करने के लिए विमेन लेड डेवलपमेंट का नया युग देश में लाने की जो गारंटी मोदी ने दी थी, ये उसका प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण है।
सच्चाई ये है कि महिला आरक्षण को आज किया जा सकता है। 33% आज जो सीट्स हैं लोकसभा में, विधानसभा में, वो महिलाओं को दी जा सकती हैं। कोई कॉम्प्लिकेटेड मामला नहीं है, मगर सरकार वो नहीं करना चाहती है। सरकार ने ये देश के सामने रख दिया है, मगर रियलिटी ये है कि ये इंप्लीमेंट आज से 10 साल बाद होगा। ये भी नहीं मालूम कि होगा या नहीं होगा। तो एक प्रकार से ये डिस्ट्रैक्शन टैक्टिक है, डाइवर्जन टैक्टिक है।
Joining me on the broadcast this evening is Mr. Desh Ratan Nigam, who's a political analyst. We are also waiting for Mr. Ravi Srivastav and Shreya Sharma, who's a lawyer, to be joining us later on the broadcast. I believe Ravi Srivastav is with us. I beg your pardon. Ravi, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Well, let me actually begin with Mr. Nigam first. Mr. Nigam, the fact that Rahul Gandhi is claiming that the implementation can be done immediately. The census figures of 2011 can be released, but the intent of the BJP is not to do that. How do you respond?
Griya, in fact, somebody who's not, gone into the intricacies of the law with respect to this particular question, which is Rahul Gandhi, I believe does not know as to how to respond. Now, the law which was made in 2002 clearly said the next delimitation can take place in only 2026 by 84th Amendment Act. And therefore, and the first census has to take place immediately after 2026, the recent census, and that's what the law has been laid down. And that probably Rahul missed about it. And it's a delimitation commission which will reserve the constituencies, not the government of India. Because as Amit Shah ji clearly pointed out, in that case, if we would have done on the lighter note, we would have, reserved Wayanad. And therefore, he said it on a lighter note. And therefore, let us be very clear, it is not the government, it's the Delimitation Commission headed by the retired, Justice of the Supreme Court, then the Chief Election Commissioner, and then other members are there. It's a highly independent body whose orders cannot be challenged in any court. So it is that process which will have to take time. After 2026, after the first census, the figures comes where what is the population, what are the gender ratio, how many women are there in a particular constituency. All these factors have to be taken, and these are constitutional mandates, and that has to be adhered to. No government can violate this, and I believe somebody didn't brief Rahul Gandhi properly, and therefore this is the step, the most humongous step whose extent, nature, scope and impact is still sinking in. Probably women also at this point of time do not realize what would be its impact is humongous. And therefore, the process is on, and immediately after 2024 election and 2026, when the Delimitation Commission will be constituted as per the law previously laid down, then only the process will start. And it can be as soon as the census is done. the process will, and I think the government has made it clear after the election, the census process will start. And the law says it has to be a recent census, not the previous census. Please understand there's a difference between recent census and the previous census. So previous census is 2011. It
Yes.
does not give you the real picture.
Okay.
Yes.
The technicalities of recent and previous census, Ravi Srivastav, the accusation that the BJP is levelling at Rahul Gandhi and in turn the Congress party is oversimplification of a complicated legal issue that cannot really be just done and expedited just because you've said so, even by bringing in the necessary amendments. How do you respond?
Griha, this is a half-cooked exercise, I would say, passing this bill in such a hurry, and the kind of suspense which was made, 2 days before the opposition was told that we are going to bring the bill. The bill's details or intricacies were not discussed with the people. Just to have a claim and say that we brought this women reservation bill. That kind of taking credit exercise has forced BJP to bring it. Now, official timeline says 6 years from now. What Rahul Gandhi has said may take even up to 10 years, or may
Yes.
which government will come, what will be the circumstances, nobody knows. What he says is that first of all, BJP lost 10 full years in implementing this exercise. Had the bill been brought in 2014 itself, by this time, the census process, the delimitation process, everything could have been done. But they did not do it. They deliberately did not do it because they wanted it to delay it as much as possible. Now, I don't call it a bill as the government says that we brought the women reservation bill. It's an arrogant and a loaded statement. My take is totally different. The brave women of this country have snatched their 33% rights from the government, which is led by the politicians who are misogynist and who are the patriarchal. So this is how it should be viewed. So as early as possible, this exercise or whatever they call it should happen, and this 33% quota can start immediately, and that OBC quota within quota must also be implemented. These things could have been ironed out if had the BJP discussed this bill well
Okay.
before with the opposition bringing in the parliament. Anyway,
Okay.
it's a welcome thing. It has been a done exercise. With next, whichever government comes in, I think they will implement it immediately.
Okay, I'd
Can
let
I give a 10-second response?
Yeah,
10
I would. I'll
response.
come back to you, Mr. Nikam. But we have Shreya Sharma who has now joined us. Let's actually get in the legal voice here. Shreya, can it be done? Can these legal hurdles somehow be breached through amendments and this process expedited, or it is going to be a good decade or maybe more than 10 years for this bill to be finally implemented and seeing light of day?
Right. So in the legal sense, like we've been talking about, I think so. It cannot be implemented now. It cannot be implemented immediately because with the law that is there in place right now, there is a process that you have to follow. There are two processes. One is the delimitation exercise and the census. So you need to make sure that both of these things are done before you actually pass a bill like this in the parliament. So this would basically mean that you have to first to explain what the delimitation exercise would look like, you would have to make sure from the Election Commission of India to make sure that all the boundaries, it basically redraws the boundaries of the parliamentary and the assembly constituencies so that it matches the balance and the
Yes.
is the population, and so it's done in a proper way. So you can't just say that okay, today it's this way and tomorrow it will change and become something else. So you have to go through that process completely, and you also have to check the census of the most recent census, because that is the only way you know how the country is functioning right now, what the population is right now, what balance needs to be created. These two processes need to be
So,
done
is
and need
there
to
a
be
loophole, Shreya, in the most recent census or a past census? Considering Rahul Gandhi in that press conference mentioned about the 2011 census, why cannot that data be relied upon and this entire implementation be pushed forward? In fact, implemented as soon as possible. Is that a technical point or a loophole that can be looked at?
Actually, so the census that was already done has been done, and now that there are a couple of months left for the 2024 elections, ideally you're not supposed to do it till that time,
Okay.
and you're supposed to do it post 2024. And so, my opinion is that you cannot base it on the 2012 census. You need to do it on the most
A
recent
fresh
census.
census. Okay, all right. Yes, Mr. Nigam, you wanted to make a point. What Ravi was claiming was that why delay it for another 9 to 10 years? Why not do it at the start of the Modi government regime in the country, if at all the intent was towards bringing in a women's reservation bill?
Griha, in fact, the law, once it receives the assent of the president, it will become a law. The bill will become an act and it will become a law. And as I said, it is the Delimitation Commission which will redraw the boundaries, constituencies. The number of seats of the Lok Sabha has been frozen till 2026. That is what the law is. So Delimitation Commission cannot, do it before that.
Yes.
It has to be after 2026 because law has already frozen the number of seats. And the previous census and the recent census, the difference is the population has changed over a period of time. At least 25 to 30 crores people have been added. One, the gender ratio of a particular, constituencies would have also changed. All this will come out through census data. And secondly, let me expose the hypocrisy of those people who are trying to bring in various things. None of the parties of the Indie Alliance made any amendment, brought any amendment to the effect of the objections they had in the parliament. So they all passed it without any, at least you should have tested this thing before the parliament by bringing the amendments to this particular bill. But nobody did that. Even one or two people who did that, they did not press after the voting. They never wanted to press it also. So everybody wanted the law to be passed, one, so there is no hindrance and it becomes a law, and the rest process will follow. Process will take its own natural time, and till then the political parties should give more tickets to women, at least 33% tickets to the women on their own, and also reserve 33% seats within their own organization, as BJP has done in its own organization.
Okay. Ravi, the important point that Deshratan Nigam is mentioning, and this is an accusation against the Congress party. Even though they're claiming that the bill is theirs, they were the ones who introduced it during Rajiv Gandhi and Narasimha Rao's tenure. What happens to the OBC quota? It was not part of that introduction back then as well. So why are they claiming about it and crying foul over the current bill in its current form? That also lacks it. But the Congress didn't have it either.
They did not know it. The bill was never discussed before the presentation. Only after presentation of the bill, the Congress or the Indie Alliance came to know that there is no OBC quota in it. And it was, of course, not there in 2010 also when the Rajya Sabha had passed it. But point here is that there was an ample 1 decade available to the ruling party as well as the opposition to discuss it and iron out all kind of the problems in it or shortcomings in it. And by this time, we would have seen 180 women MPs sitting in the parliament. That's what exactly I want to say, that they don't have the intention to do it. So deferring it by another 6 years or 10 years is just like, living in a fool's paradise and trying to fool with the people or the women with this women empowerment bill. So that's what Congress is against, and they are going to do it. The many parties, the BJD gives 33% ticket to women. TMC gives more than 33% ticket to the women. There are many parties who are already giving it, and they will continue to do more, give more seats to the women in the forthcoming election. But point is, there is no hindrance in implementing
no, but my question to you, Mr.
now.
Ravi Srivastava, is this agitation a waste of time? Because legally, technically, it's not possible. It is only going to be implemented post-2029. So even if there is a hue and cry about why and how there is no OBC quota introduction, no quota within quota, what is the Congress and the opposition really going to do about the agitation?
Congress did not have the adequate power in the parliament in 2010. They could not do it. The fact is this. 10 years, the BJP had a brutal majority. At 278 in 14 election and 303 in 19 election. Enough of people were available. They could have gone for an amendment as well. They could have, even the delimitation exercise, you think is an overnight job. It's a cause for an individual hearings. It will take at least 4 to 5 years for completing the delimitation exercise. Census itself will take more than 2 years. So this is not
And
going to
that's why
happen
I said
anyway.
exactly, isn't it a lost fight that the Congress and the opposition is really fighting? But I'd like to thank all my guests for joining me this evening. That's all the time that I had. We'd have to see where this entire political narrative is headed. That's it from me. My colleague Shivani Gupta is up next with Plain Speak.